But
Yeah.
let's pretend you're Goodell. You get to do one thing. What's your one big thing you're making? The one big change you're making with the NFL?
So, well, as I sat back as commissioner of the league, I thought
Mm,
about this a lot. And one big change I thought about making was just to eliminate Thursday night football altogether. But then I thought about it and I was like, we're in the money making business. That
mm.
wouldn't that would not benefit us as the NFL.
No, no.
So since I can't throw Thursday night football games out, let's give the players 2 bye weeks, right?
I
Because
love
now
it.
we're already talking about playing on Thursday nights. Then we got to play during the holidays on Thanksgiving, which is Thursday. Now there's going to be a game on Saturday, which leads to a game on Wednesday for Christmas, which again, the study shows it's hard to recover, especially that late in the year for players. And we've seen the injury rate kind of muddle up and down in regards to guys playing on Thursday, especially late in the season. So if we want the best product out on the field, let's give these guys another bye week, extend the season by 1 week, maybe even 2 weeks to split it up, to have the bye weeks. That way we get the best product on the field. Maybe you get your first bye week by, week 6, everybody has to take a bye week, and then you get another one by week 14. Everybody has to take it by then. And I think that would really benefit, the league and a better brand out there. So again, I went back and forth because I had to take my player helmet off,
Mm,
my
mm.
commissioner helmet on. And I was like, I can't, just throw away Thursday night football. That doesn't benefit us. We're going to lose a lot of money if we do that, because people generally do tune in for Thursday night football, no matter who's playing. It could be 2 of the worst teams in the NFL. People are still going to tune in. So instead of taking away Thursday night football, let's add an extra bye week. And I know there's been preliminary talks in regards to if there were an 18 games season that could potentially happen with 2 bye weeks. But I think with 17, I think they need to do it already, especially with the turnover of guys playing on Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday night. Just go ahead and give everybody an extra bye week so they can be healthy and recover and get ready to play.
I love this idea. I think you could make the case that it's really silly that they went to 17 games first when they're going to go to 18 games anyway. Like, I think that 18 games with 2 buys would be better for players than 17 games with 1 bye. You know what I
Correct.
mean?
For sure. For sure.
And no doubt about it, 16 games is a really optimal NFL schedule. It just feels right. We've had it for years. Obviously, you had, the NFL is going to keep increasing the number. 18's felt inevitable for a while. The move to 17 just annoys me because the stats are going to be skewed for this one stretch of time. And I think adding that extra game without the second bye is just wild. So, go to 18 and do the second bye. Now, don't get me wrong, like 17 with 2 buys would be better for the players anyway. And I agree with you. I think the second bye would, and Goodell talked about it, maybe, have the Super Bowl and President's Day weekend where
then everybody can be off on Monday.
At least a portion of the country is going to get Monday off and not have to, have a Super Bowl party, and nobody's working on that Monday anyway after the Super Bowl. So, I think that all, everybody's grinding through it. So I think all that sort of makes sense, and I really like the idea. I think if you're gonna, it would probably be the first thing that I would think about doing if I were commissioner, honestly, because I think if you just gave the players 2 buys with the 17 weeks, it would make it so much easier to go to 18 weeks, and it would be like and they'll probably do this in the next CBA. Be like, well, we're going to introduce the bye in the name of player safety, and act like it's like a grand gesture to the players. Like the last CBA, where they're
here's a treat for you.
we're not going to suspend anyone a year for smoking weed anymore. It's like, well, gee, that's nice. That's something that you should have done anyway. I think it's hard to find things that you would do as a commissioner too. Like you said, where you'd be like, I'm going to get rid of the franchise tag. It's like, no, the owners aren't going to let you do that. You're going to get fired.
You got to put the business hat on and take the personal feelings out of it, because the NFL is a business. So that's why I was like, originally I would take out Thursday night football, but I'm like, that doesn't benefit us, right? We're going to lose money if we do that.
So instead of doing that,
yeah, exactly. Instead of that, let's give the players an extra week to recover, rehab, and get ready for a 17, 18, week schedule.
I love it. Okay. Let's we got this, you're Goodell, you're in the office, 345 Park Avenue. We mentioned the 18 games.
Yeah.
What are you going to do if you're a commissioner and the proposal comes across from the owners? The owners say, we want more money. We're not rich enough. Go get us 18 games. What do you do?
Well, let me preface this by saying this right now. The current CBA, I think, runs through
20
30, I think 2030.
Yeah.
So right now, nothing can be done until at least 2029 as far as negotiations. So that being said, we have at least 5, maybe 6 years before this could even be brought to the table. Right now, I would say no. And I say this because if you look at last year, just last year alone, at least 13 teams heading into week 17 had a backup quarterback in the starting role, right? And we know this. The quarterbacks are the face of the NFL. There was no Kirk Cousins. There was no Joe Burrow. The Steelers and Browns had backup quarterbacks, right? The Falcons were, in quarterback purgatory last year. So, my thing is a lot of it was there were a couple that were performance-based, but most of them were injury-based, right? So, you want your faces of the league out there. And with another game, which we just talked about, Will, is most likely going to happen anyway. We'll see what happens in 2030. But you put your players at more risk for potentially getting hurt with an extra game, right? Now, again, if there's 2 bye weeks, then players, may be more apt or more comfortable to do it. The only thing that sucks is, and this is me putting my commissioner hat to the side just for a second and putting, UDFA Lige Douzable helmet back on. There's going to be less opportunity for guys that are late round draft picks and undrafted free agents because if you go 18 game schedule, you're probably only going to do 2 preseason games. Now, the frontline guys already are not playing in a 3 preseason game, but some guys that are at the bottom of that roster need that 3rd preseason game to make the team. When I came out, if I didn't have that 4th preseason game, I don't know if I would have made the team my rookie year or second year, honestly. So just imagine those guys not only getting 2 opportunities, and some coaches are sticklers. They feel like their frontline guys need to get at least a series of 2. So that's 2 or 3, that's a quarter right there that's not going to be played by guys that are at the back half of the roster or undrafted free agents in regards to making a great impression to try to make an NFL team. Because even if you don't make your team, there's what they always say, there's 31 others watching that same film as well. So right now, as commissioner, I'm going to say no just because it was literally backup quarterback carousel last year. And with an extra game, we put those players at risk from potentially getting hurt. We want our star players in the playoffs. We don't want them on the sideline. So that's going to hurt us money-making wise in the long run. Now, again, short term, you'll make more money because it's an extra week, right? But I think when you don't have the franchise guys out there, you don't have the faces of the league out there in a Joe Burrow or Kirk Cousins, I think it hurts the product overall.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how the league handles this because – I'm pretty sure I'm not misremembering this, but the league wasn't supposed to expand the playoffs. It wasn't supposed to expand the season to 17 games based on the CBA. It just sort of said, here's what we're doing. And the NFLPA was like, whoa, you can't do that without our permission. It's like, well, we're going to. And if you want to sue us for it, because ultimately it does equate to more money for players technically because you're expanding the pie. Now, I think that was the selling point. So I'll be very curious to see how long the NFL waits to go to 18 games. I also think you can make the case that with the league, all these extra international games create so much crazy travel for these players. I mean, we're talking, like Friday, the Eagles in Brazil for Eagles and Packers in Brazil to open the season. You got to come, and that's not as far. But I mean, it's you're still crossing the. Yeah,
it's different time zones, though.
Yeah. And you got Germany built in there, and these teams are choosing not to use their buys because they're giving them the option. Like, do you want to have your buy after the international thing? A lot of teams aren't doing it, that is crazy how much that is compacting the schedules for all of these players. And so I'll be curious to see if they try to expand it even more in order to make sure that they get an extra bye week for the players coming off the international stuff.
Yeah, just what Roger Goodell was kind of saying. If you've heard him, he wants to expand it even more, Will. So don't be surprised if the NFL eventually gets into Asia or other countries. And I think with that, you just got to be cognizant of the time travel, the recovery from guys traveling from different time zones. And I know some teams hate to take those early buys because most teams that play international, that last game is probably by the second week of October, right? So you're talking about week 6 or 7 at the latest, maybe week 8. I can't remember that game in Germany between Seattle and Tampa Bay. I think that was around week 8 2 years ago. But that's usually the latest it happens. right?
Right.
So a lot of teams are like, we don't want to take the bye that early, right? We don't want to take the bye
Exactly.
week
Exactly.
4 or
Yeah.
5. But I'm like, that's a lot to ask of your players, right? To fly internationally, literally 5 or 6 hour difference in time zone, add in the flight, which is like a 9-10 hour flight flying back, and then you got to get ready to play again that Sunday. That's just a lot to ask from your teams. But teams like the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have been accustomed to doing it every year, maybe they're just a little bit more accustomed to it. Their bodies are more used to it. But yeah, I always hated having an early bye. Matter of fact, I played in London in 2015 when I was with the Jets, and we had it after week 4, and it sucked. Like the back half of that season, like just being beat up and not having an extra bye. And then if I'm not mistaken, I think we played a week like 12 Thursday night football games. So it's just yeah. So it's just like, and maybe that's another thing they could do. Maybe after week 8, no more Thursday night football games. But again, they're not going to do that because of the money aspect of it, of course. But it's just like you're so beat up. It literally takes you to that. Once you get to like week 8, it usually takes you to that Saturday to recover anyway, right? So just imagine getting cut off 2 or 3 days early because you got to play on that Thursday.